do you think? We got new tires today. Freedom Mobile Tire Service came and put these on at the shop. We talked a little bit. We had a great podcast talking to Ryan and Kenny. Kenny's a local guy who's been running KG Maintenance, very good reputation, and he partnered with Ryan, who had started Freedom Mobile Tire, and now they're in Moscow, and they do all of our tire needs for our fleet. It's great because they're on site, no shuttling, so love it. Forge in Idaho, here we go again. I got Ryan, Kenny, welcome guys. You are with Freedom Mobile Tire Service. You're my tire guys, both for Forged Construction and Forged Excavation, and I think you guys are going to get more from us on the other fronts as well. So yeah, I appreciate you guys talking to me about what you guys are offering, because it really is, for a fast-paced business owner, it's a phenomenal service to have your tires changed on location. So talk about that, Ryan. Like, how'd you get into this, and how's it going?
Yeah, so we started down in Lewiston about 3 years ago now. And I really it was that point exactly. It's like my life was just getting busier, started having some kids, and there was like, there's no way in hell I'm going to have my wife go sit at a tire shop and spend the majority of her day while she has 2 kids running around. So it's an idea that I thought about quite some time ago, and just kind of had to wait for the right opportunity to do it. But it's been working out really well. You know, we stay busy. Got to meet Kenny and his family in the process, and ended up getting one going up here in Moscow.
Okay, so you basically you get a call from a customer. How's that process work for them?
Yeah, so we have a full-time office gal who answers the phones. Her name's Johnny. We also have a website that you can go on and schedule. You can order tires from our website. You can schedule from our website. So all of our pricing's on there. You know, we're not trying to hide prices from you. So anyone could get on there and look at our pricing and pick the tire they want, or they can give us a call. The way it works is you order your tires or call us to order the tires. They show up to our shop. We load our trailer, head to your location, and get her done.
Yeah, so I'm here at my office today, and you guys are here to change out my tires. It's going to be fantastic. So you're running and grinding with that kind of service, and then you meet Kenny. How's that go? How does he get involved in this endeavor?
So he used to do most of his tire business down in Lewiston. One of my employees down in Lewiston named Warren, he's used to work for a tire shop down there, and Kenny knows him very well. So that's why he went down to Lewiston. So
I'm shuttling, you know, we've got 20 rigs, and
so you own KG Maintenance up here in Moscow.
And I've been, you know, for years shuttling employees and fleet vehicles up and down the hill to the tire shop, which is, I mean, it's inconvenient that it's down the hill, but even if it wasn't down the hill, you know, coordinating with carpooling or whatever to get a couple of humans in a fleet vehicle to the tire shop and hang out and wait or come back and all that. So when Warren left the tire shop he was working at, I said, okay, well, where do you recommend? And he gives me this guy's number, and I call him, and he tells me that, I'll come right up to your yard, and we'll do all your tire work right in the yard. Don't have to leave the shop. And it's like, you're talking like Safe Light for tires, is that? And he's like, yeah, got all the equipment, all in a trailer. So he comes up, and I didn't know anything about tires, but I was really intrigued by the time. I value time above everything. So, the fact that this guy shows up in one of these and blasts out all the tire work, and no one had to wait around anywhere, I was just so blown away. So I'm kind of grilling him, asking him some questions about how's this work, how'd you get into it, all that. And then he leaves, and we go about our lives. And then it was time to get a new set of studded tires for my wife's car. So I'd call him, and we meet down in Lewiston at a parking lot. My wife had to do some shopping, so we just set up a time. Yeah, we'll be there at Tuesday, 1 o'clock or whatever. Park the car, give him the keys. We go in, get the shopping done, come out. He's just bagging up our old tires, setting them in the back, and it's like, I just could not. I mean, it's such a good idea, and I couldn't stop thinking about how good of an idea that was. So at this point, we've had maybe 15 minutes of interaction, and he comes up to the shop for another set of tires, and I hadn't spent a ton of time thinking about it, but I just felt convicted. So I just said, Ryan, I know you don't know me, and I know this is crazy. What do you think about being business partners? And sticks his hand out, shakes it, and says, absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. Let's talk about teams. All right. So you partner up. I mean, obviously I know what you think, Ryan, right? We're fellow firefighters in Lewiston, and, teams are a really precious thing, right?
Yeah.
It makes or breaks an organization. And you grasp that really well. It's a risky thing, taking on a teammate. How'd that go? Like, what were the bumps, and what's the really the big benefits?
Yeah, so like you said, we only knew each other for, I'd say,
Not
a
long
grand
enough.
total of an hour.
Not long enough to be business partners.
And,
I love it. All in.
Yeah, and I never in a million years would ever thought I would have had a business partner. If you'd have asked me 10 minutes prior to meeting this guy, I would have said absolutely no way.
And 10 minutes prior to me asking him that, I would have said no way.
Yeah.
But it was the weirdest thing. So I was on duty the night before, and between calls, I was, trying to get some sleep, and I had a dream. I had him scheduled the next day, and I had a dream
I
about.
think this is called a vision.
Yeah. But I had a dream about Kenny coming to me with a business opportunity, and I can't remember if it was exactly tires or what it was related to, but it was a business opportunity with Kenny, who I'd just met, and I woke up, and I'm like, man, that was weird. Well, sure enough, he was the last job on my list up here in Moscow that day, and he approaches me with a business deal. I'm like, what in the world?
I love it.
So that was the start of it, yeah. And then as far as the teamwork, I mean, there was just something about him that I don't know. I can't explain it. It's just, I had a ton of respect for him. I didn't even know him. But it's gone flawlessly, in the year and a half or whatever that we've known each other.
It's pretty wild. It didn't make any sense. A lot of, I think what makes us click is his values and his family and the way he wants to operate. It just lines up exactly with the way that my wife and I and my family, the way that we operate. I don't know if it's like a firefighter deal. I know a couple other firefighters, and they all seem to be like excellent people. So I don't know if that's just part of what it's like to be a firefighter, but the fact that when there's been plenty of instances where a single mom will call in and, she's needs some tire work, but we go out there and actually she just needs new tires and she's not in a position to do it. And both of us, it's like, yes, we're gonna take care of this lady. And that's a lot of what's kept me out of partnerships, is that I don't want to be told that, no, we're not going to take care of this person, or we're not going to do this or that. But there hasn't been a single instance where, just Kim and Ryan are interested in taking care of people and being fair and treating people right. And to me, that's everything in business.
Yeah. It's it's not whether or not you're going to treat people right. Like, every business owner wants to treat somebody right? It comes down to, who is it going to be, right? Which person are they going to treat right? Are they going to treat their shareholders that's barking in the back of their mind, or are they going to serve their team and their customer? It's I think it's so much deeper than just firefighters, but we're really starting to rediscover the preciousness of just the values that people have, and people are really looking for that. How much does that affect the customers that come to you guys?
How much does that affect them in?
As far as like what kind of customer you attract because of the values that you guys have and broadcast out there?
I think it's less about who we attract because we're so small, not a lot of people know we exist. So the customer that we get is just whoever happens to have heard about us. But I can tell you the customer that we retain and the customer that we will grow into serving is exactly the kind of people that we want to work with because, we just did a seasonal swap last week at a gentleman here in town, and he was intrigued by what was going on here. He's got 5 kids, and that's been a pain point in his life is trying to organize. Does my wife and my 5 kids hang out in the tire shop for a day, or do I take the day off work or whatever? So we end up connecting and chit chatting, and he wants to get my number, and he wants to tell everybody he knows about it because he was just thrilled by how pleasant the technician was, and he hopped online, he left us an awesome review, which is like, you know, everything for a small business, and texted me later that night and just said how appreciative he was, and it's like, yeah, those are the kind of people we're going to likely continue to do business with.
Yeah. What about the notion of getting the team on that mission? Like, what are some of the things that you've had to bring from your background, and maybe you as well, Kenny, as a more of a tradesman? How do you integrate those things into a new business so that you build the kind of culture that you want and allows it to provide that kind of service at the edges, right? Because you can't be there all the time.
Yeah. So I'd say it's not just in the tire business, it's in all the things that I'm involved with. Everybody that works with me, employees, there's a lot less consideration of what's the policy and more consideration is what is the correct, right thing to do, from a moral standpoint, so no one has to go through, an employee handbook and study and memorize what's the standard operation for this kind of thing, or what exactly would, can they want me to do in this situation? It's like you have your own free will. You're a good person. You understand what we're trying to do here. Use your judgment to make the call that you think is the right thing to do. Or in other words, if this was your grandmother, how would you treat her? That's what you should do.
I don't know how many times we hear that every day at the fire department.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Every
Do the
day.
right thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's just kind of comes naturally with training, We're going to hire people that are good people. I mean, that's the number one. And then you're just going to train them how to do everything right. And if it takes them an hour longer than it's supposed to, who cares? As long as you do it right.
Yeah, I think we've really, over the past few years, we've really had to come face to face with how much your faith comes out your fingertips. Like, we love to separate what we believe about God and morality and try to keep those things private. I know that was a generational thing for my parents and grandparents, those generations, and I think we've realized, no, it really does come out of your hands, and it affects what you do. You can say what you believe strictly by how you do your work. And I think that's a really profound thing that you guys are doing with that good customer service. I mean, sometimes it costs you, right? Sometimes you have to lay your life down for somebody just in the way you treat them. Helping a woman with tires that can't afford it, you had to give up something to go do that. And that selflessness is something that I think our culture realized all of a sudden we lost. Do you think there's kind of a growth at least in our location or in our country, as far as willingness to do things like that in business? Or do you think it's lost? Do you think it's becoming a rare thing?
I'd say it's becoming more and more rare.
I grew up in a really small town, and I worked at a hardware store, a second generation hardware store. And I worked for a guy that he cared for people all the way. And the nearest competitor is an hour and a half away. So he doesn't have to care about people. He can treat people however he'd like because he's an hour and a half insulated from the nearest competitor. But that's not how he operated. He operated exactly like how his dad operated the hardware store. which was a beer and ice and appliance hardware store at the time. And it was old school customer service, that is pretty well a thing of the past. But I believe there is this insurgence of that old school approach, because I think people are tired of the everything is maximally commercialized, and no employee has any sort of authority to do anything, which is the opposite. I mean, all the ways that I like to encourage everybody that works with me to to do the right thing, to be empowered to do the right thing. When I got hired at the hardware store, I was 15, and that guy gave all of his employees a little strip of paper, and it was if there's an event that happens, and you basically every employee, including me, 15-year-old kid, knew nothing. My job was to load concrete. If there's something that needs to happen, we need to discount a product, we need to provide a service for free, we need to whatever, is that you just do it. You don't check with your boss, you just do it, and then you write down the event and you turn it into me so that I can review it, and if we need to change something about what we got going on in the store, we're going to do that. Or if there needs to be an adjustment of, yeah, this was inappropriate and here's why, let me hear your thinking on that, all that. And I think that's an old school way of operating, but I believe that there is an insurgence of that today, but it's not as common.
It's almost like, for a long time we just wanted to be safer and safer and safer as employees and as citizens. We just wanted, everything to be cared for. We wanted our 401ks to just work out, and we wanted to retire at a very nice, comfortable age and just be safe. And I think people are becoming, at least in the circles that I'm hanging out with, guys like you and some of our other brothers at the firehouse, like there's just this kind of growth of like, maybe I'm not going to put my money all in the 401k. I'm going to actually make it work for me. Yeah. And that's risky. Yeah. Like you had to put some real skin in the game. And I think there's just a growing interest in people's willingness to risk some things, but in so doing, they're kind of taking ownership of some problems and solving them, right? Like what you're talking about there. When you hire an employee, you're looking for someone that's willing to do that with you. But let's talk about project employees. How do you guys negotiate that when you have someone who's a little bit maybe not what you thought?
Or you're just talking like a employee that we're trying to build to be this person.
Everybody sounds great in an interview.
Oh,
and then you put them to work, and then there's some stuff. What are the decisions that you go through as far as, okay, how hard am I going to work to help this guy versus, hey, I think this isn't going to work out for you?
Yeah, so we've been pretty darn lucky. Moscow's only been open for a year.
Next month.
1 year. So, I mean, the employee we have up here is awesome. He's a super great guy. He's good at his job. We've had really no issues at all with him. He's great.
He's got a great heart. And actually, so we hired him out of a tire shop. He came to a company Christmas party in another business of mine. And he came up to me afterwards and was talking about the vibe, the culture. He had never he'd heard about work culture, but he had never actually seen it in person. He just wanted to be a part of that. So I happened to be opening a tire business, and he worked in a tire shop. But when he came and talked with me, it was not necessarily about coming and working at the tire business. It was like, hey, I just want to be part of this culture. So he's been an amazing fit because he saw the culture firsthand, without me telling him about our culture. He just got to experience it, get to play cornhole and meet the other employees and meet the employees' families and all that. And that's what he wanted to be a part of. So, I mean, that's the piece that matters. The technical skill piece is, I don't want to say it's irrelevant, but it's nearly irrelevant. And I've been hiring people for more than a decade. And when I first started hiring people, I spent a lot of time looking at their technical abilities. What sort of skill do they have? What sort of experience do they have? But that's not at all what I look at now.
Yeah.
Not at
Yeah,
all.
I can totally sympathize with the necessity of them. I mean, it's almost goes back to the beginning of you guys talking about being business partners. It took you 10 minutes, and it was a winning combination, not because of anything else technical, right? It was just you guys were very aligned, and there was a good crew fit, and here you guys are. I totally agree. Have you had any problems or lessons that you'd share as far as how that has not gone well?
Well, I mean, I think when you're dealing with people, there's always going to be problems. I mean,
Yes.
no matter how good the person is, right? I mean, it's natural. There's going to be problems. Everybody has their own free thought. So, I mean, it's inevitable. It's going to happen. So there's always going to be those little issues, but I feel like as long as it's sincere and as long as it's for the right thing, it's kind of easy to get over, at least for me, and definitely for Kenny as well. So, like, I don't know. I don't really see. I mean, if someone was to go above and beyond and neglect, being a good person is what we're going. But if they're going to neglect that and do something that's going to harm somebody or their family intentionally, I mean, obviously that would be the end of that for us. But we haven't had that.
We haven't had that. And the as far as advice goes, so I do prior to KG maintenance really taking off. So I left the hardware store. I'm just starting KG maintenance, so there's this lull where I didn't have customers, but I had a lot of contacts in the hardware store world because I've been doing it since I was 15, and so reached out to several stores, and I wound up doing consulting, private consulting for their businesses, just operations and all that sort of stuff. And I still do a little bit of that consulting work now, not for whatever industry. And that is a topic of conversation always about, I've got this employee and it just, it's not right because of XYZ, and I can't let him go because of XYZ. And the advice that I give to these people, which is not always the advice that I operate in myself, but if you know it's not a good fit, do it soon. Don't wait. And there's people that, well, this guy does this really important thing, then how could I ever? Well, there's 7 billion people on the planet. Probably someone else could do that too. And if it is poisoning your culture, it's a non-starter. You got to cut it and move on.
Yeah. Culture eats everything else for breakfast. There's something to be said for the ability to work joyfully and to be happy to go to work.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's just you cannot replace that as a commodity. The lessons you guys have learned in doing this, and the place that we're in right now as a culture, we're kind of wrestling with: do kids go to college, or do they enter the trades and become a blue collar worker? What kind of advice do you have as far as that kind of decision? The willingness to break your body and get something done. Where does that decision? Where does your advice go for those kinds of people in that decision?
That's kind of a tough question because it all depends on, what direction the kid wants to go. Like if he wants to be a doctor, I mean, obviously there's only one way to get to that point. But
I don't know. Maybe there's a way.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I enjoy working with my hands. Being a fireman, I love, doing that type of work. It also surrounds you with really good people. But the tire game, I mean, I enjoy going out and changing tires. It's
a lot of fun.
You're out there by yourself. You get to meet such good people and have a lot of good customer interactions. So I would honestly lean like my kids, definitely my boy. I'm definitely going to push him more towards trades than I would towards the college route. But it's all super dependent on exactly what they want to do. Like if they want to be a nurse or or a doctor or a lawyer, then obviously the college route. But I'm going to hope that they don't choose that route.
Yeah, it depends on the guy. Depends on the gal. What their interests are, what their strong suit is. But you've mentioned risk a couple times, and it's interesting. When I first, when I quit my job, and I actually had no real plan other than I wanted to be the guy that was gonna choose what I was gonna do when I woke up in the morning. That was my plan. And it was, everybody talks, geez, that's risky, not a good idea, yada yada. But now people talk about, wow, what an awesome opportunity that was for you. So risk is just opportunity before it was opportunity with the unknown of how it will go. And then if you're right, no one calls it risk. Everyone calls it awesome execution on the opportunity, But it's out there for everybody. Everybody can take a go at it in this country. But the risk aversion piece, it's like you got to be comfortable, to be on your own, to not collect a paycheck without your own doing. You got to be ready to tolerate a little bit of risk.
Yeah, I think it takes. You can go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's almost like the risk. Well, not almost like, it really is. The risk is proportional to the benefit, the profit.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
I was just gonna say real quick on that. It takes the right kind of person to, not accept failure. I think, obviously, you're not gonna just go risk on something that you don't 100% believe in. But if you 100% believe it and it feels right in your gut, why not just not let it fail? Just go after it. Work hard, keep pushing. And it's going to be a bumpy road. It's never going to always be smooth, right? But, yeah, I just think it takes that right person with any industry. You, for example, starting up Forge Construction, you've, had a little previous stuff in construction, but you're like, I kind of want to step out on my own. Everyone's like, oh, Brad's taking a big risk here. Well, now look.
Well, and let's remember how this really started. I mean, we thought we were going to lose our jobs. that was the only reason I did this. I thought I was going to be forced to lose my job with the vaccine, and so I was like, well, maybe I'll put some trim in officially now, and that was it. That was all it was for me. The riskiness was probably when I finally decided to take a loan out and do a thing and buy some equipment and that sort of thing. But it's so funny because we know intrinsically that risk equals payout. When we sat down as brand new firemen and we're filling out our retirement allocation paperwork, everybody tells the new guy, make sure you put high risk on there. Oh, okay, you just do it. And, it seems not very risky at all because, you're not going to receive a benefit for 30 years or more.
Yeah.
But, man, when it actually meets the meat of putting your own dollars on something, it's almost like that muscle needs to really get worked in our kids and in our employees. We've had a lot of employees come in and work with us and just get inspired to just go try it themselves. And it's always hard for me because I'm like, I lost another good one. But they're great because they leave, and they're also another piece of the community doing what I'm doing that I can lean on. And we become in another way another teammate. And so, I just think that you guys are a great story as far as American innovation, American workers, and just providing a service in a day where it really comes down to speed. Where everybody's familiar with instant access with cell phones and artificial intelligence, and it comes down to you guys have a wonderful system and process. Maybe talk a little bit about that to close us out. How important is a system and a process for a team?
So that's, I think that's really why Kenny and I drive so well. Besides our core values are the same, but I'm the hands-on technical guy. He builds systems. That's what he does.
Brian doesn't know what a system is what he's trying to say.
I do now. When I met Kenny, I was carrying around a notebook, and I'd write down tire sizes and customer names and phone numbers, and then I'd go back and I'd take, oh boy, it'd be like half an hour per quote. I was just spending every single one of my evenings, looking at all my distributors, calculating all the quotes out. Now,
killing me, absolutely killing me.
Now with
when
our
he
systems,
walked me through, because that's the whole deal. When I am getting involved in a business at any level, it's like, walk me through. An order comes in, now what? Take me through production. And when he was taking me through production, I just was like dying, just dying at every step, just dead. Like,
yeah.
Oh man. So
and the funny part is, I thought my system was all right, but now looking back at it,
there's not.
Yeah.
There's 0% chance I'd do that ever.
You guys
again.
had a real mask-up drill together, huh?
Yeah.
So
it was interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything that can be automated is automated. Anything that can be systemized is systemized. Anything that can be built for scale is built for scale. So the expense to build this second trailer was pretty nuts, but we built it with the vision, and we have continued to build the infrastructure to support hundreds of these, because that's where we're going with it. And we can't have hundreds of them if we're taking 30 minutes to produce an estimate. So now we can produce an estimate in 5 seconds, or a customer can produce their own estimate actually. So
Yeah.
that's I'm a systems guy. I didn't know anything about tires. I never thought I would be looking at a load index chart, or what speed ratings are, or any of that. I'm a systems guy, and that's has been my contribution. Is just how can we make this more efficient? How can we deliver a good that has so much more value? And that's been my focus. And then Ryan's expertise on the technical side, it's just made this match like just perfect, absolutely perfect.
It's funny to hear you, because you're not a systems guy. You're a little more seat of the pants, just like I am. But it makes sense now, right? Like
Yeah.
you understand seat assignments.
Yeah.
You understand task assignments. It totally flows. It totally makes sense. Everything's for time, right? Nobody else is coming, right? All those firefighter concepts certainly fed into the background, and obviously you were good soil for him to kind of get into and establish these things. So briefly, where are you guys headed with this? What's it look like, and what can we expect in the future with Freedom Tires?
Well, we sold our first franchise. He'll show up in August for a 2-week training. So we've built out a whole bunch of like a training packet for him that he'll be able to review prior to showing up. He'll show up and do hands-on real world stuff. He'll hook up his trailer and off to Alabama.
The system is, all these hours that I spent in front of the computer, and all the spreadsheets, 40 pages long, thousands of lines long. Like, it felt really silly when there's just 2 locations. But now that we can just drag and drop, copy paste 200 of these, and we're like ready to go, that's exciting.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, we're excited to see where it goes. Ryan, Kenny, thanks for your time, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing this with us.
Yeah, thank you.